Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to Tillis Tell Stories for Saturday night. The title of this week's video is The King, the Jews, the Rain. I translated and freely adopted this story from the Israeli weekly Tsfat HaShavua. I chose it because tonight begins the petition for rain in the 3 times a day central prayer, the Amidah, the Shmona Esrei, the Amidah. The title, The King, the Jews, the Rain, and the story itself for that matter, might lead you to think that this is one of my stories of 18th, 19th century Eastern Europe, or perhaps even 16th, 17th century Tsfat or Jerusalem. The reality is that this episode took place relatively recently, in early 2014. The first stages of winter in Morocco in 2014 were unusually warm and dry. And as the days and weeks progressed, so did the worry that this could be years of drought, leading to serious famine. For the agriculture of Morocco, like many others in the Mideast, is dependent upon the winter rains. The king of Morocco, however, Muhammad VI, knew well the address to turn to in the season of such troubles: the synagogues of the Jews. He sent an official royal request to the head of each Jewish community in Morocco, asking them to convene a special assembly in their synagogues for the express purpose of praying for rain. In response, the members of CCIM, Council of Israelite Communities in Morocco, hurried to compose a letter that was dispatched to all the Jews in the country. In the light of the request of His Royal Highness, the King, there should take place in every synagogue at the same time a special prayer assembly to plead with the Master of the universe that he should provide plentiful rain throughout the kingdom. It was decided that this prayer should take place in the synagogues on Shabbat, the 10th day of the Jewish month of Tsfat, in the year 5774. And that corresponds to January 11th, 2014. Just before reading the weekly Torah portion called Beshalach, that's when they would read it in every synagogue in the land, and that Shabbat. The Jews gathered and prayed with mighty devotion that the Almighty should release the rain upon the land. The next day, Sunday, in the evening, their prayers were answered in the affirmative. Dark, dense clouds slowly filled the skies, and soon thereafter heavy rains beat upon the earth everywhere within the borders of Morocco, and continued for several days without cease. The following week, important government officials in every city with a Jewish community met with the leader of the community in his city by order of the king to thank them in his name for their congregation's prayers. I'll answer some astute viewers' questions in advance to save them the trouble of writing. Yes, I know that the day before, that Shabbat, on Friday, millions of Muslims prayed in their mosques for rain too, also at the behest of the king. But on the other hand, I don't know if he sent an emissary or even a letter to each Muslim community to thank them or not, like he did for the Jews. How did King Muhammad VI know to ask the Jews for help? Answer: he simply followed the family tradition. His father, Hussein II, often turned to the Jews for their prayers in time of need, and he enjoyed a warm relationship with a number of different Jewish community leaders. Although only a fraction of the Jewish population remained in Morocco after 1948, about 3,000 out of approximately 350,000, less than 1%, Hussein II believed that even this greatly reduced number was a source of blessing for the country. Indeed, on the eve of Yom Kippur each year, he would send personal representatives wearing the fancy robes of royal emissaries to their synagogues to request a blessing for the king. Yaakov Kadosh, known as Jackie, head of the Jewish community of Marrakesh, testified to Sikat Shavua, one of Israel's most popular Shabbat weekly publications, that the current king also has this great appreciation for the Jews in his kingdom. He told that a few years ago, we decided to repair and renovate our centuries-old Jewish cemetery from the dangers of the passage of time. Said Jackie, I and Rabbi Raphael ben Shimon wrote to the king with the details of our plan. In just a short time, we received a response. He blessed our plan and even said that all the expenses for the work would be paid from the royal treasury. This was a sum equivalent to millions of dollars. He called it a holy project. In conclusion, may God Almighty accept our prayers for timely and sufficient rains for all the agricultural produce here in the Holy Land, as well, of course, as our united prayers for the return of the suffering captives in the hands of their cruel captors, and the safety of the dedicated soldiers of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force.